Good evening. Welcome to Investigator News, and this is Justice for All. And Karen, what do you think of a drunken third grade teacher on the first day of school? Wow, I guess she couldn't get over summer vacation yet. Wow, you know, and what about At first, I want to jump in and a federal judge to order the release from jail for anyone denied an attorney in Washington County. This is in Oregon. Um, um, this judge, McShane, Tuesday, ruled that anyone held in Washington County Jail without a court appointed lawyer will be released in 10 days of their initial court appearance. It needs to be addressed. People held in custody just waiting for what? A public defender? No. 116 people are facing charges in 17 of Oregon's counties where they did not have a court appointed lawyer or an appointed defense attorney. So we'll have to see how that turns out. That was just a quickie there. Now I want to, oh boy. Now, Power Wheel DUI. Now, this is out of Indiana, and some people say, you call this crazy? This is a weird one. This is weird but true. Yeah. Uh, uh, um, no one really paid much attention to it. And this came out, I believe, on um, New York Post. So this guy, this man, he was charged with DUI in the children's Power Wheel Jeep. So we're talking a little toy. It's a toy designed for kids, and apparently the man was operating the vehicle in Indiana, and he was going down a regular road. And they say, well, he was under the influence. He was therefore arrested and charged. And they want to know what happened. Could it stand up in court? Yes, it could. Um, and why? Because when you drive a vehicle on a major road or a highway, um, for one, it's got to be street legal. It's got to have tail lights or reflectors. It's got to have a headlight. Even a bicycle's got to have a headlight and reflectors, right? Uh, Strange but true. Well, he was found in his little Jeep. I wish we would have had a picture of it because I'm trying to figure a full grown man in a Power Wheel. So he must have sat on the bars and I don't know. How would he steer it? His knees or something? I don't know. Maybe it was a short man in a little car. It wasn't a midget, that's for sure. He was a full grown man. They found marijuana and cocaine in that little Power Wheel. Um, I'm sure his daughter or son didn't leave that in there. Yeah, that was his. And he thought he would go 20, 30 miles an hour down the road thinking he was legal. Oh boy. Karen, what? Oh boy. So, uh, uh, so this is weird but true. So he was charged with the cocaine and the weed, and they did find that he did have alcohol in his system. So he was driving under the influence, and he had drugs in the little Power Wheel car. And like I said, I really don't think it was a 3 or 4 year old's weed or cocaine, or they weren't driving, Dad. Uh, what do you think of that one? I know you guys want to hear about the drunken teacher. Now, I've heard about this all over the internet this weekend, but I heard about it last week, folks. Um, and it was at my court place, where I meet my ladies from DC. No, they didn't turn me on to the story, but I found it on my own. And I thought, how horrible. And so, the news people didn't give it no justice, and they started off in the middle. I watched the whole cop cam on this, and they had it wrong. They started off that they found a glass of wine on her desk. I never seen that. I never. Um, why did the media have to overplay this? It was an empty cup they found, and it was halfway through this ordeal. And how it started was a police officer was called to the school to talk to a very drunk teacher. And this was close to the end of the day. They said they seen her in the morning, she was fine. A little bit around lunch, she started not acting right, and others had noticed it. So a teacher and the principal called her into the principal's office to meet up with this police officer. Now, this is the first day of school, folks. And he she didn't want to get in trouble. And at first, the school offered for her to call someone to just come get her. And she was like, "Oh, I don't have anybody to call. I don't know who to call." "Well, what about your husband?" "Oh, no, we can't call him." I mean, she said that pretty much all the way through. This was close to an hour and a half of video that I watched. The news shortened it down and squished it and put in facts that weren't even there. So I'm going to give this the lowdown to you guys. So she didn't want her husband called, and there was no one else to call. "Please don't arrest me. Please." She said, "What about my job?" to the principal. The principal said, "No, it's gone. It's gone. You can either resign," which he was being nice, "or they could fire her for being drunk on the job." And she said, "Well, I'm not drunk. I haven't had anything to drink." And they questioned her, or the police officer started questioning her when she had something to drink. She said the night before. And he's saying, well, the teacher was saying, "Well, you smell like you've had a little bit more than the night before." And the way she was talking, the way that they said she was moving around, it had to have been recent. So he questioned her. Did you drink in the classroom?" "Oh, no," she said. "Oh, no, I don't drink in the classroom." And they asked how early did she drink. And then she changed it from the night before to 3 a.m. So she changed her story up. Well, he questioned her a little bit farther and went ahead and gave her a breathalyzer. Well, she was almost 2.5 times the legal limit. So she was pretty lit, folks. And then he asked her again. She said, "Oh, well, I may have had one at 7 o'clock this morning." And he asked what it was. And she said, "Boxed wine." He said, asked, "You drank the whole box?" "No, no, just one, just one." So now she went from the night before to 3 o'clock in the morning. Um, um, well, that was way after the fact. Was the teacher blonde? Yes, I believe so. Um, Karen said she seen it the night before, and she wanted to call her husband. That was towards the end. Okay, Karen, wait for me. I should have had Karen on here with me today talking about this. So um, the officer needed her ID. So the principal went to the classroom and came back and said he didn't know where it was at. And she said, it's in my purse. It's in my purse." So then before he left, she said, "Oh, no, maybe it's not I think it's on my desk. I think, look on my desk." Well, he went at least 4 different times in the hour that I watched to the office. So Karen, he didn't bring that cup out too soon. Did you see the whole clip? Did you see the whole hour-long clip, or did you just see it on? Oh, heck, everybody's got it on their site today and yesterday or the weekend. So he says, you can't drive home. You're going to have to call somebody. And she said, "Oh, I can't call my husband. I don't have anybody else." And he says, "Well, I guess I'm going to have to arrest you." And then she's like, "Oh, no, I can't be arrested." And then she said she had a friend she could call. And then, of course, still needing her purse, that's when I think on the third time that the principal went to the office and brought in a bag, but brought in a cup. And the cup had wine residue at the bottom. And so, uh, uh, so he sets the cup down. The officer filmed the cup. He smelt the cup and showed that that was evidence. And he told her it was evidence, and wanted to know about her friend. Well, then she couldn't find her phone. "Oh, I don't know where my phone's at. My phone must be on my desk." She sent this poor principal back and forth for not only her ID, her purse, her phone. Uh, for some reason, I think it was to keep him out of the office to hear what the police officer and the details he was getting. So then we find out that she drank a glass of wine at 8 o'clock in the morning. Now, mind you, that was 15 minutes before school started. So she had a glass of wine. Now, my perception is I bet she drank the night before. I bet she drank at 3. I bet she drank at 7. And I bet she drank a whole bunch at 8 o'clock. And then again at lunch, because she said she did go out to her car and have lunch in her car, but she didn't drink in the classroom or inside the school, she said. You saw it on Law and Crime? Oh, yeah, there you go. So Karen's seen the whole thing. I'm pretty accurate, right? Well, get this. So there was a commotion out in the hallway. And so not only the principal, but the teacher and even the police officer went out to see what was going on. And this was towards the end before he arrested her. And he arrested her for wiping the cup out. So while they were out of the room, she grabbed that cup and wiped it out real quick. And the police officer said, she said, he says, "Well, I'm going to have to go ahead and arrest you." She did resist, big time resist. "Oh, no, 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 you can't. No, you can't. No, you can't. Oh, I'll call my husband. My husband." That's when she decided to call her husband, is when she was going to be arrested. She's going to lose her job. And she put it off and put it off, and she fought him with the cuffs until they finally arrested her. This is a third grade teacher, folks. Wow. So she was charged with at being drunk on a school premises. She got it for resisting arrest, tampering with evidence, and now I seen in an article where she struck the cop. I didn't hear about none of that. The other thing was her wife. It sounded like the cup had wine in it. It did not. The other thing they had wrong is they started it way after. They started it pretty much about the cup on a lot of these sites, and they didn't. They said teachers were in the office with her. And Karen can vouch, Karen watched it. That was the principal and a teacher. So you could see how twisted, come on, get real. Newspapers and news articles and TV shows. If you're going to tell the story, tell it right. Uh, well, she had been there, I think, 20 years, Karen, and they never had no problems with her until now. So, I mean, but did they know? Did she do it the year prior? At least they didn't find drugs and cocaine in her bag. I was expecting them because she didn't want them. She didn't want her purse to be found, for one. And then he brought the bag in, and she really didn't want him looking through the bag. But the cop did look through the bag. He didn't find anything. But I was thinking he was going to pull out a bottle of Ripple or something. So, wow, wow. We go from drunk to really bad drunk, you know. 2.5 the legal times limit. I don't think she could walk. I think she was afraid. And then now she was worried about the kids seeing her kids. She didn't worry about them seeing her on in the classroom. I mean, because she went almost all day. It was if you look at the timestamp at Law and or Law and Crime, because it is on there, folks. You can go watch the whole thing. And she was worried about the kids seeing her, so they had to take her out the back. And then I think when she realized how far she was going to have to walk, she fought them on that too. She didn't want to go through the cafeteria. She didn't want to go through the hall. She didn't want to go through the gym. She didn't want to go. What? Am I right, Karen? I mean, she didn't want to go. She didn't want anybody to see her. And tastefully, they did it to where she went, I think, by a classroom and went by a few people that were sitting in the cafeteria. But other than that, they got her out of the building without her being seen. I mean, they were that respectful for her. I would have drug her through the hallway by her hair, but I'd be a mean cop. So, wow. Oh boy. So, um, uh, now this next one, folks. Um, this is a funeral home. It just gone bad, gone really bad. Um, and when you have a funeral home that's so immoral that they want to overcharge people, or like what happened with me and my son, and I'll get to that towards the end of this. Um, so this lady, um, of course, was going to bury her husband, and they wanted 200 uh, for insurance, and she really didn't know what it was for. And they assured her, they put their arm around you and they act like they care. And then another 500 down did towards the bill. And then they racked up all kinds of charges. And so she assumed they were being nice. They were being, they were showing her the cheaper coffins and trying to find her a cheap plan. And it ended up being very, very expensive. And they wanted to know the reason for the $200 insurance was they could call her insurance and see how much life insurance he had on him. And they exceeded it by that amount. So they were going to get paid by the insurance company, but then they wanted her to pay that same amount. And it didn't say in the article of how much it was. But come to find out, someone else had one there at half the cost with a bigger funeral plan to it. And so she, when and so get this, they were calling and calling and calling and harassing her. You need to hurry up and bury him. You know, we're going to have to charge you more for the longer we hold on to him. Really? So now there's a storage fee. Okay, I know there's storage fees because I had to pay one with my son, or a processing fee. And so she decided, her brother told her there's plenty of funeral homes, and for them to be calling and hounding you like that, maybe you need to find another one. And so she did, and she found one that her husband's insurance covered the whole thing. So she knew she was going to get ripped off. I mean, she knew this place was going to rip her off. And lo and behold, while she's talking to this new place and she's getting ready to sign all the paperwork, this other funeral place calls. And she goes, well, I got someone that wants to talk to you. And she hands the phone to the uh, 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 funeral director or salesman. And, uh, he told them exactly what he was charging and that she's chosen to choose him or this funeral home and was planning on coming over and getting him. And a beautiful funeral. She had it sooner than she expected. That this other place was going to do. Now, when my son, folks, this was, oh boy, um, my son was killed in a car accident, and we don't really have had a coroner then. We do now. And so they send all their business to, lo and behold, the most expensive funeral home in town. And I can't say the name. They'd probably sue me if they found out. And so he was sent to the most expensive one. And oh boy, I think all the coffins were gold plated or something. They were very expensive. And I said, well, my son wanted to be cremated. And they tried real hard. Oh, no, no. People want to see him. His friends want to pay their last respects. And they really laid it on me. And I'm like, no, my son told me here, a couple of years ago what he wanted, and I'm going to respect him for this. And I said he wanted to be cremated, and there's certain things he wanted done. And I said, but the rest of it's with the church. And so they give me this what the bill is going to be, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't have this kind of money. And they said they'd work out a payment plan with me, but it was a stupid price, monthly payments. I mean, it was huge, nothing I could afford. And so I told them about it. And so I had called another funeral place. And I thought maybe I could find a cheaper one. I knew this was the most expensive one in town. Well, they were about half the cost. And so I went to the funeral home where my son was, and I explained it to her. And boy, her head whipped around. She looked at me. She goes, and she leans forward and she said, this is pretty morbid. You don't want to move him. How cruel. This is pretty morbid. You don't move. You don't jump a body place to place. So I felt pressured. I didn't want to be immoral or morbid or whatever. So I left him there. I didn't go to the cheaper place. That wasn't the end of it. The church was next. Of course, they have a little old lady that's going to put her arm around me and tell me how sorry she is. And we were going to have him put on the wall there. And, I was making arrangements for flowers to be sent to the church. And she said, I said, but I don't have no money today. I got to see, what I can gather up from the family. And she said, oh, let's not worry about that right now. Well, the funeral was like 2 days later. So I'm busy with the whole funeral thing at the church, and we had him cremated, and oh my God, you would not believe the amount of flowers that were sent and the money that was given to us. And I get there, and the priest is standing outside, and I'm like, so what's up? He said, well, you haven't paid. And I said, well, I thought we were going to work this out. Oh no, we're not having any funeral until you pay. I said, well, can I give what I have? And then, we can go from there. So we did have the small, not small, it was huge. The church was packed. We had the funeral. And then right afterwards, the priest takes me back outside again with this lady. And he says, now you have to cover the rest. I said, I don't got that kind of money. I thought we were all going to work this out. Oh, no. Well, we couldn't proceed to the wall because he wasn't allowed in the wall. I said, okay, so where's he going? And the priest said, I'll keep him with me. I said, why can't I just take them home? Oh no, we got to keep this until you pay. I get This is a Catholic church, folks. I can't tell you which one. And I said, well, I want all the flowers. Oh no, you're not allowed the flowers either. So I wasn't allowed to take them home. They confiscated all the flowers. They said I could have the food trays. That might help. Um, I went back the following day, and I had to go out and I bought a glass cabinet for them because I was going to bring them home. I didn't know what to do. Um, and oh boy, I didn't really want them in my house. I'm superstitious, and I was thinking, oh, he's going to haunt me now because I didn't do what he said. I felt bad. I felt like morbid for wanting to move him. I felt immoral for wanting to move him. Then I felt like uh, a cheapskate because I couldn't pay for the funeral. And I thought all of this was going to be payments. Um, and so I did get him back. And I never went back to that church ever, ever. I won't even, I can't even fathom going to a Catholic church after that. Um, and yeah, so I paid for basically the service, and the food was donated, but they took the flowers and sold my little crypt thing that I was going to have them into. So I didn't get charged for that either. Um, and the funeral home, well, I filed bankruptcy on them. They hit me, and then I had a whole bunch of medical tests that were done, and I said, it came time to file for bankruptcy, and they said, do you owe a funeral home? And I said, oh, I almost forgot about that. And because they were telling me everything that was on the collection list. And I said, put it on there, put it on there. Yeah, you don't want my 2 cents. uh, and not to mention friends, so-called friends, wanted me to hurry up and bury him so we could get on with our lives and they could be around. Uh, I ain't gonna tell you why, but it was stupid causes. And they were like, "Well, you need to hurry up and bury him, and here's a funeral home. Let's hurry up and bury him, and the church. Let's hurry up and bury him." I'm like, I haven't even gotten over him yet. They were all hitting me up the second day. I found out in the middle of the night. I went a whole day. The second day, everybody wants him buried, and I couldn't even think straight. No sympathy. Everybody kind of vacated. They didn't know what to say. Family members didn't know what to say. Friends, everybody just left. And I was there to deal with this monstrosity of whatever to get, to bury him the way he wanted to be buried. So I'm saving part of it because eventually he would have been pulled out of the crypt. After I pass, and both of us are going to be put in Lake Tahoe. I hope, maybe. I don't know. I'm thinking there's a lake here that's way prettier than Lake Tahoe, so it might be here. I don't know. Who knows? I might even screw up my funeral. So anyway, um, so you have to be very, very careful, folks, when you have a loved one pass, please. Don't just go for what other people are going to tell you. You take your time, you look, you grieve, and you find out what you want to pay. And if they're gold plated coffins, run. Unless you want your loved one in something, a luxury, and you want to spend 20, 30,000 on a coffin or a casket. I'm sorry. Um, and just don't jump into it, and don't, and get this. Now, the second part of this is they're finding out funeral homes will check with hospitals. And when people pass, they get their name and their phone numbers from the hospitals. This is horrible. And they sell their names to funeral homes, and the funeral homes start calling these people down. So there has been a law that they can't do that no more. Yeah, justice, justice for all, because this is a funeral is probably the worst moments of our lives, and to be ripped off by the funeral home, the hospital, the churches. Be very careful, folks. Look around and, ask a lot of questions and say, when is this due? When do I pay it? How much is this going to cost? Because, she was scribbling, the lady at the church scribbling all these numbers, wasn't telling me what it was about. Okay, and here's the total. And I'm like, what? For what? For what? I mean, I brought the food was donated, the flowers were donated, and it was just a service with their choir singing. And boy, it was thousands. So don't have it at the Catholic Church. They're expensive, unless you're Catholic. All right, folks, that's it for Justice for All. We got William coming up in 30 minutes. And thanks for watching. Subscribe and share Justice for All. It's something new we're doing on Mondays because I want to see justice. Justice, that teacher was fired. She was fired. I looked into it. And, we had a judge that wised up and said, if you're going to keep these people, now why can't they do it with January 6th, guys? If you're going to keep them for a long period of time, you need to get their public defenders in there. And this was, I think, out of Eugene, Oregon, this happened. And I thank the judge because it's justice for people just sitting there and waiting. And a lot of it was a protest by the Republican Party, they say. All right. So, yeah, come on back for William's show. And, today we got a lot on Burisma today, folks. I talked to William a little bit before. So come on back for William's news. And I'll be there on standby. So, all right, folks, you have a wonderful Monday, and I hope you had a fabulous weekend. The weather's cooling off here this week it was like 87 today. Oh, that's almost chilly. All right. So come on back tomorrow for news and lifestyle, weather and lifestyle news and regular news. And we'll be on track again for this week. So have a wonderful Monday, and we'll see you either tomorrow or come on back for William's show.